Purpose of this video might be a little repetitive if you've watched my other videos, except for the last part, but I just wanted to give you one place that you could come and look for data checking and data manipulation. So the first thing I wanted to show you was descriptive statistics. This is the thing you're most familiar with. We can go to descriptives here, click on it, it pulls up this menu. You can grab as many of these variables as you want. Again, it has some menus over here. For this, it's simple enough, you don't need anything. The OK option will send it straight to the output window, but if you want to follow my recommendation, then you will click paste and then open up your syntax window and highlight it and run. Remember, just clicking paste does not actually run anything. You have to come, highlight, and run, and that will bring it to your output window. And while the mean, median, and mode are useful for talking about things, most of the faculty actually would rather see this frequencies. Frequencies tells you how many people chose each answer. So again, I'm going to click paste. I'm going to come to my syntax window. I'm going to run it. And now we can see, oh, well, in my sample, I have 87 females and 18 males. I could see here, well, 25% said that they had 0 committed relationships before their spouse, and then 31% said 1. You could use this cumulative percent to say, well, if you add up those 3 numbers, you get 78.1% had 2 committed relationships before their spouse, and on and on. And you can run that for anything. Again, my recommendation is that you run frequencies on any data that you're using before you run it, just so you can see if there are any weird answers. Open-ended questions like tell me about cheese or whatever it is. You might get some pretty weird answers. So checking these frequencies allows you to see what people said and how many of them said what they did, which is good for seeing if you have something skewed like this. It's not a very good sample, but whatever. It was an easy data thing that I threw together in one night. All right, so that's descriptives and frequencies. The last thing I wanted to show you was what if you need to reverse code something? You would reverse code if you were using a scale, for example, that higher values meant higher levels of prosocial behavior, but one of your questions actually asked the opposite of that. So a lower value would mean higher prosocial behavior. You would need to reverse code that so that everything on your scale would point the same way. If you have questions about that, come see me. It's really not a big deal. I'm happy to explain it and talk to you about it. But I'm just going to show you how. For example, on this question, I would never actually reverse code this, but it's easy to do. So I want to reverse code question 6, who was ready for marriage first. I come in here, I see that I have 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to go to transform, recode into different variable. I'm going to come down, display variable name so I can see question 6. I'm going to come here and say question 6, reverse code. That just tells me that it was reverse coded. I'm just going to say reverse code. And then I'm going to click change. That pulls this up here. Again, you have a variable name and then a label that will show up when you need it to. Old and new values. I'm going to take my lowest value and put it into my highest value, and then so on. Again, 2 to 2 isn't that useful, but I do it for consistency, and then 3, 2, 1. What you're going to want to see is you're going to be counting up here and then counting up here. And that just switches everything so that high values are now low and low are now high. The last shall be first and the first shall be last and all that. Hooray. Click OK or paste. Doesn't matter. I'll click paste and then go into my syntax window and run it. And now it's backwards. Hooray. Really useful thing, especially after you've reverse coded, is to run frequencies again to make sure that you didn't mess up somehow, which is pretty common. But if you need to reverse code something, that's a really useful thing to do. Another thing that you could do with this tool is create groups. So for example, for a t-test, if you wanted to create groups of Latter-day Saints versus non-Latter-day Saints, or whites versus non-whites, or anything that you wanted to do, you could use this tool for it. So anyway, that's basic data checking and manipulation in SPSS.